Yo, what's going down, Green Screen Entertainment fans? It's your homie Jay Green right here, and I'm very excited, very pumped to bring you my review for the brand new Superman. Now, if you don't know, this movie was written and directed by the great James Gunn, and it was produced by Peter Safran of The Conjuring fame. Now, this isn't the first project from the brand new Warner Brothers DC Studios division that was Creature Commandos, but this is the first feature film. And let me tell you right off the top, it is great, phenomenal. I loved it, and the more that I think about it, the more I like it. And let me tell you why. But before I get into all that, who the hell is in this film? Number one, we got David Corenswet playing Superman, aka Clark Kent, aka Superman. Rachel Brosnahan is playing Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, the legend Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, Anthony Kerrigan as Metamorpho, and the list goes on and on and on of a bunch of amazing actors that might not be front and center, but are definitely key pieces to the story and great supporting characters. Now, straight off the top, let me break down this movie's basic plot with zero spoilers. We know that there have been metahumans for some time now, and Superman is numero uno, king of the hill, if you will. Lex Luthor hates Superman. He wants to take him out, and he's going to do this by any means necessary. But because Lex Luthor is a smart guy, he's using a lot of logic and logistical ways in order to do so, okay? So that's basically what we got going on. Within that whole situation of Lex trying to take out Superman in those logical and logistical ways, Superman is also reconciling with his heritage, where he came from, how he got here, what his true mission is in his heart and mind, and maybe what his true mission is based on a message from his parents. And at the same time, he's trying to reconcile and reason with the world as to certain actions that he's taken that maybe they didn't want him to do, but based on his ideologies, he chose was necessary. And that's where we're at. Now, as I said before, I saw this movie a couple of days ago, and as I've been thinking about it, I like it more and more and more since that period of time. So I have a lot to say, but I know y'all ain't gonna be rocking with me for a long ass period of time. So I'm gonna try to give you the short version. That being said, let me start with James Gunn and Peter Safran heading up the brand new DC Studios at Warner Brothers. I have to say that I am super excited. I do trust in James Gunn. When he first came out with Guardians of the Galaxy with Marvel, who had had a proven track record at that period of time, a big fan of Marvel and everything that they do, right? Was sitting in the theater like, what the hell? They making up shit now? Guardians of the Galaxy? I ain't never heard of that, right? But that's a deep cut comic, and James Gunn was able to bring that to full fruition, and everyone loved that ish, right? So based on James Gunn being an author, a great director, and someone who takes a lot of pride in the level of knowledge and storytelling and emotional weight and things of that nature for his stories, I trusted him heading up this ship. Peter Safran produced the entire Conjuring universe. Now, while I might not be a fan of all of the installments into that universe, it's still a great universe that he's produced. So those two coming together to be the Kevin Feige for DC, I was very excited for that. However, me being a huge DC fan, and if you can't tell by now by watching this channel, I was extremely nervous because of the fact is the last DC universe was not very well received. Now, me personally, I love Man of Steel. In fact, I think it is a masterpiece, and I will go toe-to-toe with anyone who says otherwise. But it's not for me to change your opinion. I'm just letting you know what I love about it and why I feel it is that. However, I can also still see at the same time that some of those movies definitely missed the mark, so I digress. Point being, this movie, Superman, has a lot of heavy lifting to do. It has to win over the people that the previous regime lost, right? At the same time, it has to make Superman as lovable, as likable, and somewhat relatable as some of our newer superheroes that we've been seeing on the big screen and even the small screen as of late. And whether this movie makes a lot of money or doesn't make a lot of money on this first installment, it has to be loved or extremely liked by most everyone, so then they'll actually want to see what comes next. Because if this movie was trash, we are dead in the water as DC. You feel me? So going into it, for me, this was truly a game day type situation. And I am so happy to say that I thought this movie excelled on all possible levels. Now let me tell you why. What I love that this movie did was it showcased Superman's ideologies, right? He is a Boy Scout at heart. Okay, he has core values, morals, and ideals that he is not willing to just let go for any old thing. So even if the world might feel like he's doing something he shouldn't be doing, he only looks at the glass half full and sees, well, you know what? Life is life. People are important. Community is important. And this is what I'm going to do in order to keep everything on the right level, to keep everything on a positive note. And this movie really showcased that. This is not a spoiler, but there is like a scene in this movie where he saves like a little animal in the midst of all this mayhem. And I'm like, I like that little subtle situation to show us who this guy really is. In the trailer, there's a conversation that he's having with Lois, and she's actually interviewing him. And this scene kind of is a two-pronged effect. One, it actually showcases how well Lois is at journalism, how important true journalism is to her, and where her thought process is as far as legalities and things like that, and the actions that even Superman, her boyfriend, will take, and how real she is and how willing she is to stand her ground for what she believes. So it gives her that character development in that short conversation. But again, it also doubles down on who Superman is and why he does what he does. So those things kind of sprinkled throughout this entire film were phenomenal. They give us nuance to Superman that we have not seen probably since the Christopher Reeves, or in the long form that we've seen from like a Smallville and things of that nature. So that was really dope that James Gunn was able to put that on screen and make it just fit so well into this particular film. Now, speaking to the relationship of Lois and Clark Kent, Lois and Superman, that is a cornerstone of the Superman universe, if you will, his love interest, right? I love in this movie how they played that back and forth, okay? Like I said before, Lois is a woman who is strong, she's very capable, she's super knowledgeable and smart, and she is willing to stand her ground. Superman, clearly strong, capable, and willing to stand his ground. And they both love each other, and they have differences of opinion from time to time. They kind of poke at each other from time to time, right? And the way that when they're in the workplace, they interact with each other versus when they're out of the workplace and they're interacting with each other. Or when Superman is in some trouble and Lois maybe has to be the heroine in that moment in time. I love how there was that back and forth throughout the film, and she actually had things to do from a journalistic standpoint, and I really want to help my man and everybody around me standpoint. And it all made sense into what was going on in the film. It didn't really stretch my believability that she would be able to do what it was that she was actually doing. And speaking to Lois and Clark, aka Superman's relationship in particular, I really do like how they gave them those back and forth moments, because to me, it really helps ground Superman into someone that we can relate to, right? That's one of the hardest things when you think about characters like the Incredible Hulk or Superman. These people are you can't defeat them. You can maybe break them down for a quick second, but they're going to rise right back up. There's not really much that can take them down. So you kind of have to find a creative way for us to be able to relate to that character. You don't always need to relate to the superhero, but if you can relate to the superhero and they can also do some superheroic things, that just makes me, the viewer, a bit more engaged in what's going on. And if you can give me that, I'm going to be very happy. Now, let me speak to some of the other characters in the Justice Gang, right? First of all, I am not as well steeped in certain Superman lore or Justice League lore from like way back in the day. I'm not going to front like I am. I'm a Batman guy, right? But I do love Superman and the Justice League as a whole. So James Gunn is that well steeped in that knowledge. He is a true student of that game, if you will. So for him to put certain things in there, I'm imagining that those are deep cuts. Maybe that was something that they called themselves back in the day. Maybe it wasn't. But regardless, I don't give a hoot. I thought it was fun that there was something of that nature where they're kind of talking about the name of their team, the way that they interact. We kind of see them creating the Hall of Justice, which I thought was dope. And for me, to see the interactions of how Superman is how Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner is, right? How Hawkgirl is and Mr. Terrific. I loved their back and forth as this team that they kind of work together, but they kind of don't. Superman's not really on their team, but he'll help out when necessary. They'll help him out, and they kind of play off of each other. I thought that ish was super fly and very fun and entertaining. And because I am a Batman guy, and I know Batman is #1, I can't wait to see what comes forward. You dig? That's another thing I want to give shine real quick to James Gunn for. In this film, because he dropped us right into the action, and these metahumans have already been around and they already got certain things going, we don't really have that lag time to build up to like, who are all these people, which is fine, right? But I really enjoy the Easter eggs that were probably put in this movie that went over my head, and the idea of what's to come without this movie feeling like a stepping stone to the next thing. This movie is its own entity. You can see this and be done with it. You don't have to say, oh, this movie's only gonna make more sense once I see the next movie, or maybe I should have done my reading and looked at this other film. You don't need to do that. And that's something that I love that they've started with this brand new DC universe. Marvel did it phenomenal. Marvel did it the best when they started with Iron Man and built their way up until Endgame, and then you could throw Spider-Man in there. Afterwards, I don't know what they've been doing lately, right? I'll still give them that credit and that shine. I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four. However, I feel like they've dropped the ball and they're not allowing certain elements to breathe outside of their cinematic universe. And I feel, and from what I've heard, that's what James Gunn is gonna do. He's gonna allow there to be, Elseworld stories. I've heard of a Clayface coming, right? We already got Robert Pattinson's Batman, things of that nature, but then we have kind of our core. And I think that this is gonna be so awesome to see when Batman eventually jumps into this Justice League, but I digress. I'm saying all that just to simply say that the interaction between the team was phenomenal, and it also gave me hope to see when more members come up in here. Man, I feel like I went off on a tangent there. The whole team is dope. You're gonna really enjoy him when you see him on screen. Now let me transition to the team of metahumans that we've seen in the trailers. Each one of these characters don't have a large amount of development, but because of the way that the story is crafted and because of what's going on, you get enough of each one of them that you want to see more of each one of them. You're happy with what you get, but you want to see more. And I think that is a true testament to the writing and the direction for each of those characters. The way that they play off of Superman, phenomenal. The way that Superman holds his ground with each one of them, and the way that they sometimes battle back against that in light of some of the things that come up in this story, I thought was great. It's engaging, it's realistic, and it grounded this over-the-top superhero film. And I say over-the-top in the best way, not over-the-top Fast and the Furious 9 and 10, over-the-top in the sense that there's a lot of metahumans, there's a lot of ish going on, there's a lot of craziness. All great. Now let me transition to some villain swag. Lex Luthor. My God, Nicholas Hoult killed this role. I got to give extra shine to Nicholas Hoult. David Corenswet as Superman, phenomenal. Great pairing with Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor. David Corenswet has an air about him that is very innocent but strong at the same time, right? The way that he plays Superman is very Superman. And I think that's what a lot of Superman fans missed out from with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Again, I am a Zack Snyder fanboy. Yes, I love most everything that he does, okay? And I think Man of Steel is phenomenal, but it is completely 180 from what this is. However, the way Nicholas Hoult plays Lex Luthor in this film, I feel, is the way that maybe Zack Snyder or Jesse Eisenberg wanted Lex Luthor to come across in that previous DC universe. What I mean by that is Lex Luthor is a very smart, very sinister individual. He's willing to do whatever the hell he wants to get whatever the hell he wants. And in this movie, they showcase that through and through. There's a moment in the film, I am not going to tell you, but there's a moment in the film where you're thinking, is he or won't he? And he does. And I was like, Very happy with that. Not because of what he did, but I'm happy with the things that he does and the way that he does them, because it's true to who he is as a character, and it's true and it makes perfect sense to the universe that they are telling us we are in. As I've said in recent reviews, if you build out your universe and you tell me what a character is, you have to play by the rules of that universe. And this Lex Luthor plays by those rules through and through. He has ups and he has downs. There's moments where you kind of laugh a little bit or snark at certain things that he does and the way that he does it. But then there's another moment where you're like fearful and you're like, dude, this guy's freaking crazy. He's willing to do anything and destroy everything. He don't give a F. He's going to get his guy. You feel me? I also like the nuances that they gave to the way he's trying to take Superman down. Very creative. You got to see the film. I'm not going to tell you how he does it, but the way he's doing these things. Another great thing to Lex Luthor's character and showcasing his level of knowledge and his abilities in being able to go toe-to-toe with Superman, if you will, is the fact that in this film, James Gunn does a great job of show, don't tell. There are times when I felt like, okay, that's a little expositional, but it's very few. It's very far between. There's some very meaningful and impactful scenes, things that really matter to the story and to the plot, right? Where it is show, don't tell. And even I'm sitting there in the theater like, wait a minute, hold on. How is he doing this? Again, I don't know everything about every little character, okay? So I'm thinking like, what's going on here? But later on in the film, you understand why and how certain things were able to jump off. And I loved it because it just flowed with the story. So my God, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, one of the best things in the film. One of the best things in the film, okay? And then pairing him with David Corenswet as Superman, genius, great, awesome, loved it. Another person I want to shine some light and show some love to is Skylar Gisondo, who plays Jimmy Olsen. This dude was great. He doesn't have like an incredible amount to do, but he's definitely a linchpin from point A to point B in certain situations, and I thought he did a great job at that. But to speak to the real effect to bringing this character to life on the big screen like we've never seen before, credit has to be given to James Gunn. There's certain elements to this character that you wouldn't expect, but when you see him on screen, looking back, I'm like, that was just so creative and so fun that you gave that character this situation, that you gave that character this level of swag. So again, being able to move the plot along and move the opportunities for our characters to do this or to do that and get this knowledge so they can make these decisions and choices and so on and so forth through this character, and then give them this other little situation, I thought was very creative. So I loved seeing Jimmy Olsen on screen in this way. That was awesome. I want to show some love to Eddie Gathegi. This guy was awesome as well as Mr. Terrific. This right now is kind of like the Batman of this particular universe. This dude is like super smart, and he says some Batman level things to some of the characters in this movie, which again is another thing that I'm like, yo, when Batman does eventually get up in here, the way he's gonna be able to play off of all these people and the way that Batman's level of knowledge will be able to play off of Mr. Terrific is gonna be very fun to see. And so I thought that Mr. Terrific was a dope character. I thought what Eddie was able to bring to that character was fly as well. And there's gonna be some legitimate action scenes with him, so look forward to that. So in a nutshell, this movie from top to bottom was phenomenal. It's got light moments, it's got heavy moments, and it has a great blend between the two. This movie will drop you right into the action, continue to build on top of that action as the film goes along, at the same time building certain nuances and arcs to certain characters throughout the film to a very impactful and very satisfactory climax at the end. This is a great film. Before I get up out of here, I do want to say a couple of things about the culture of comic book films today. Number one, James Gunn had said at one point in time that the Guardians of the Galaxy films were like a love letter to cinema, but that this film is a love letter to comic books. And if you've ever read certain comic book runs, you understand that sometimes those comic books do just drop you right into the action. They don't give you much else of detail that happened before that, just boom, 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 couple of panels, and you are in the mix. And that's what this movie does. So for a lot of y'all out there who maybe fell off of the DC train, I understand. But give this movie a chance, okay? If you love comics, give this movie a chance. If you love Superman, give this movie a chance. If you love to have a great time at the movie theater, Give this movie a chance, right? Allow this movie to build and prosper a brand new universe that I think is going to be pretty fly based on what I've seen in this film and based on the abilities of a James Gunn and a Peter Safran to head up this universe. Now, for some of you Snyder bros out there that are super pissed off and angry that Henry Cavill wasn't able to move on as Superman, and the fact that this movie is getting so much love and well reception, I know right now y'all are like, nah!
Don't go to it.
But at the end of the day, Henry Cavill is going to be just fine. He's doing much better than you or I, okay? So let it go. Point is, just go out to this movie, give it a chance. If you like it, dope. If you don't, dope. Point being, we should all hope that every movie that we actually go to see is fly. We should never really want anything to be bad for a random reason that has nothing to do with the movie itself. You dig what I'm saying? So I encourage y'all to go out and see this movie on the biggest screen possible because it is larger than life, and I think you're gonna have a phenomenal time. Superman was a hit in my personal opinion. I cannot wait to purchase it on 4K when it eventually comes out, and I am super looking forward to what is to come next. James Gunn, I thank you for bringing DC back to greatness. Yo, DC, let's go.